We use the Mongoose library to connect to the Mongo database. So now let's start seeing how can we integrate with it using Node.js. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have to describe, using Mongoose, we're going to have to describe, once we're connected to a database, what do we want to do with it? So what do we have in that database? So we can have a show the collections that we already have here. Notice that we have the users collection, right? And so we can see the structure of the users by finding them all. Right? We see that the structure of all the pieces of information in here, they all have username, password, first, and last, and they're all strings. So we want to connect to this database. We already connected to that database. We want to use this particular collection, users, and the structure is that we have these fields with these data types. All right, so let's do that. Let's describe it. Using Mongoose, we're going to describe that. So in here, we're going to describe what we want to connect to inside of a schema. So inside of the directory here, we're going to put in a directory models. We're going to describe our schema. We're going to create an object that's going to allow us to connect to that particular collection. So in here, we're going to create a JavaScript, and we're going to call it users.schema. And schema, like the name suggests, we're going to use it to describe the data that we are going to connect to. So to do this, we're going to need the Mongoose library. So we're going to say const mongoose. We're going to say require mongoose. There it is. And once we have mongoose, we're going to create a schema so we can specify exactly what are we connecting to. So const users schema. We're going to use Mongoose to create a schema and describe what it is that we want to connect to. So here's schema. There it is, the Mongoose schema. And we're going to tell Mongoose that the collection that we want to connect to is as a second argument, is the users collection, right? That users collection. And the first argument, though, is we're going to describe the structure of users. We know that a users has a username, which is a string. It has a password, which is also a string. We have a first name. Oh my goodness! the wind just blew my umbrella away. It's pretty windy out here. First is a string, and we have last is also a string. There we have it. So we have the user schema. So that we can now connect to the users collection. Another thing we might want to do here is we're going to export this. We're going to export this schema so that we can use it elsewhere in a separate file. So we say module.exports the users schema.